Hi everyone and welcome back. So as of the 5th, I actually hit my 6-year mark of HRT. I like the idea of talking about this because I feel like after a certain amount of time, people don't really seem to talk about their transitions quite the same as years go on, and I just wanted to mention that there's some other changes that I have noticed being further along in HRT and transition that I just thought was worth mentioning. So I know in the beginning of transition, things are really seem to be focused around wishing that you were further along in transition and waiting for goals such as your 6-month mark and your 1-year mark, and then kind of just progressing out like that. But I've noticed that after a while those things vanish and then you just kind of lose track of everything. That's a thing that I didn't really expect to have happen when I was getting into it. It's just the thing I didn't really think about happening. Reflecting on 6 years is pretty interesting. It's a major milestone, but also it's just I don't even know how I got here. It does not feel like 6 years has passed. It really kind of just anymore feels like this is kind of how it's always been with transition. It's just it's really difficult to relate to how things were before transition. And so in that sense, it just feels like it was a lifetime ago that I wasn't on hormones and stuff. And it also just is so distant and so foreign at this point that even though I feel like I still have a long ways to go, being able to look back on it and not being able to relate to how things were before in so many different ways, physically, mentally, emotionally, all those things, really does show that I've made a ton of progress in lots of that. And it's just kind of bizarre looking back on it, and I just don't think that that's really talked about very much, that you just grow so much as a person through this in other ways, outside of just transition. But I've been going to counseling during all this at the same time, and there's so much of that started off with trans issues and things, but it also very quickly turned into just my own emotional stuff and actually working through things and actually growing as a person from a mental standpoint. And I never really expected that growth to be such a big part of it, but for me, that's been just such a night and day change for the better, and it's just gone hand in hand with my transition. And so I think that's just made pre-transition stuff so much more distant and so much more difficult to relate to in that sense as well. Another thing I would like to mention is that at this point, I really can't imagine my body being any other way. There's still some stuff I would like to, see from transition, and I'm really still trying to work towards bottom surgery and things like that. But from the standpoint of HRT, for the most part, I can't relate to how my body was before anymore, which in a lot of ways I feel can be related to how things were pre-puberty. The first time I went through puberty and stuff, it's difficult to relate to how things were before that as well. And I think that cisgendered people could even understand that, but that happens again with transition. And that's another weird thing I didn't really think would happen, but looking back on how I was pre-transition, I can't imagine or even really think of how it was to not have breasts and to not have curviness and stuff and soft skin and all those things. And it's just wild. I didn't know that would also be a part of this. It's a thing that I love. I'm so glad that I can't relate to that. It's just another one of those weird little things that I don't know is mentioned very often. Those are definitely things that happen, and I think they're really interesting, and they're really affirming, and like they help a lot put things into perspective. And so that brings me to the last part of this that I'd like to mention, which is self-reflection. And I am a victim of not doing this enough, or just not paying attention to my progress and things like that enough, and getting caught up in like where I want to go rather than where I've been. I think it's really important to be able to like have those moments of self-reflection, and even seeing it physically. Like, there's a lot of times that I like to look back on old pictures and stuff, and that really helps me to feel like I've made a lot more progress, especially if I'm feeling bad about something. That's been another thing that's helped with some dysphoria to an extent that I didn't mention in my last video, but I do like to look back on my old pictures and just kind of like see that progression happening over time, or, you know, just like even comparing a more current picture to like pre-transition, and just most of the time being blown away at how different everything is. That seems like a whole different person now. I don't relate to them at all in like any way, and it's not something I want to relate to, but it's also just something that's really interesting, and it's just a point that I really like being at, and I feel like I have gotten to the point in my transition now at 6 years where that it's comforting to me. It makes me not so like upset about not starting transition sooner, or not having like a supportive family and all that to be able to do so. I mean, I still get kind of upset about that stuff, but it just makes it a lot easier at this point. And I feel like those things are really important for me, and they help with the dysphoria side of things to an extent, as well as just, you know, helping me like focus more positively on my transition. So those are some things that I have been reflecting on, and it just made me realize that I feel like I should make a video about it, because it just seems like this year especially, I've just been a lot more like confident and kind of content in myself, and it's just been different this year compared to the previous years. And that might also be due to like where I'm at with other aspects of my life, like my living situation, and like financially, and like my job and stuff like that, and like where I'm going. Either way, I feel like I have reached that point, and I just felt that it was important to talk about, because I felt like it's just a part of transition that may not be mentioned very often, and it's just, it feels really important for me. It feels like a really important like place for me to have gotten to. So I hope that you found this video to be helpful and or insightful, and if you would like to you know, support me at all in any other way, I do have a few other things that would definitely help with that. I just released some merch on a website, which I'll have the link in the description, but a lot of it is based around just my artwork, and it's on all sorts of different merch that, you know, from like t-shirts to phone cases to different types of bags and stuff like that. It's all on there. That stuff is definitely very helpful, especially since I can't like work right now or anything. I also have my Twitch, of course, which I'm really trying to build into more of a community, especially for LGBT plus people, and I am pretty available there for, you know, chatting and stuff. So if you would like to, you know, hang out with me live and talk to me and stuff, like, I am more than willing to you know, answer whatever questions you might have and stuff. And on that note, I am trying to put together a video for a Q&A, and so if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, because that was a video that has been requested, and I also think that it would be pretty cool. There's also a couple other ones that I'm gonna see what I can do about. So again, thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time, goodbye!